Okay, welcome everyone to how legacy modernization can help you capture your share of $100 trillion. I'm Jeff Katrup, Senior Solutions Marketing Manager at MongoDB, and I'm joined by my colleagues, John Rangel, our Practice Director of Global Professional Services, who's going to join me shortly to talk about combining people, process, and technology to modernize legacy infrastructures. Sean McCarthy, Developer Advocate, who will join us to answer questions I'm sure you're going to have about all of this. And Melissa Smith, Demand Generation Specialist, who approached us about doing this webinar and reached out to all of you. She's the reason we're all here today. If you have questions, please enter them in the chat queue. We'll get to as many as we can. If we don't get to your question live, we'll follow up with you separately. And for those who wanted to join us live but couldn't, you can let them know the webinar will be available on demand soon. We'll send out a link and also the landing page where. So what is your portfolio of existing applications? So why should you care? Why do anything and why now? Well, Innosight modeled the rate of attrition from the S&P 500 and predicted that over the next 10 years, half the companies will be replaced. They'll drop out, go out of business, or be acquired. Innosight also said that the next decade is going to be the most turbulent ever. Digital transformation is lowering the barriers to entry for new players, and it's helping them drive out incumbents who are trapped in legacy infrastructures and processes. And CNBC Markets analyzed the average lifespan of the S&P 500 companies and found that it has fallen from nearly 60 years, a 60-year lifespan back in the 1950s, to less than 20 years today. Some more information on this. A survey by Stripe working with Harris Poll of C-level executives and developers showed that executives regard their inability to access the time and value of their developers as a bigger constraint to growth than access to capital. So they have to maximize developer productivity. But what's happening instead is that 42% of an average developer week is spent not developing applications to help differentiate the organization, but on things like bad code and technical debt. And so 52% of respondents said maintaining legacy systems was the top inhibitor to developer productivity, and 96% of C-level executives are now making developer productivity a top priority for the business. So then, synthesizing these themes, the best way to address developer productivity is to modernize legacy systems so developers can remain focused on innovation. Okay, so if the last few slides were sticks, here's the carrot. Okay, the World Economic Forum, working with Accenture, calculated the world is poised to unlock $100 trillion in value, and that's trillion with a TR, through digital transformation, more efficient business processes, better customer experience, and new business models. And so the business is demanding three main things from engineering and IT: to build new innovative digital apps faster, to use data as a competitive moat to protect and grow the business, and to reduce cost and risk. And so we see these demands are driving trends across every vertical. And first, to reorganize people and processes, and we're talking about adopting agile development processes, DevOps, reducing dependencies between teams, so you create self-sufficient cross-functional teams who can take a project from beginning to end, and then ongoing to provide continuous integration and delivery so you can move faster than the competition. The next thing is to re-architect, and we're talking about moving away from monolithic code bases to deconstruct basic business functionality into discrete digital building blocks, and particularly by things like adopting microservices architecture. And once again, there you're reducing dependencies between code and teams, and you can innovate faster. And then finally, to re-platform, and we're talking about moving from static, expensive data center resources they own and operate to on-demand elastic cloud architectures that let them deploy, scale, and distribute apps and data whenever and wherever they need it. Now, this is much more than lift and shift. And lift and shift, of course, is the process of just moving existing apps and databases to faster hardware or into the cloud. And okay, you might get slightly higher performance at lower cost, but you're not going to really realize the full transformational benefits of the agility, scale, or deployment flexibility that you get with legacy modernization. Let's talk a little bit about some challenges here. Traditional technologies like relational databases and methodologies like waterfall development, well, they're well established, right? Over decades, they've been the default way to build business applications. But the business today needs to operate in real time, and that presents challenges and demands that exceed the limits of what's possible with decades-old technology. So let's drill into some of them. So daily and weekly release cycles, well, they're normal in a digital native business. but not at a company that's trapped in legacy infrastructures and processes. They're blocked by waterfall development. We talked about that, the monolithic code bases, rigid relational schemas, and that makes it slow, and they tell us also painful to build new apps. So fragility and downtime. Okay, so monolithic single server database platforms. We're not built for the always on high scale apps businesses need to build and run today. And yeah, you can retrofit them with clustering add-ons, but that just increases cost, complexity, and makes the system even more fragile. And most of the data generated by modern apps in the world at large is now unstructured or semi-structured. And let's face it, it has been for years. This data is highly variable, it's rapidly changing, it makes it a poor fit for the rigid tabular models of rows and columns in a relational database. High cost too. It's running and growing traditional systems. It's a big challenge. It comes from expensive scale-up hardware, costly licensing and support contracts, administration, and more. And missed opportunities. It's hard to add new features on top of brittle code bases with a lot of app dependencies between each other. Companies miss opportunities. Their data estate simply won't support what they need to do to grow and to stay competitive. And it's hard to change, to adopt new technologies and ways of working across teams who are used to working in set ways and who are stuck with inflexible data tools. So the solution, MongoDB. It's fast becoming the database of choice. Total downloads of our platform have grown by a factor of 10x, from 7 million in 2015 to more than 70 million less than 4 years later. And in Stack Overflow's 2019 developer survey, for the 4th consecutive year, MongoDB was named the most wanted database by developers. Now here, just a quick moment, if you have questions, please enter them in the chat queue. And now I'm going to bring in John to talk about how we can help. John?
Thanks, Jeff. So legacy modernization, it's really much more than just adopting agile development or say swapping out a database for 1 or 2 applications. It's a combination of people, processes, and technology that collectively transforms your existing application portfolio. So it gives you the agility to develop new features for the business faster, to increase the scalability and resilience of your apps, and to gain flexibility in how, where, and when you deploy your apps. So what are the outcomes that we can drive with that? What we're seeing is organizations accelerating their development cycles by 3 to 5 times so they can innovate faster and cut costs by 70% or more, while at the same time reducing business risk. We'll explore this in more detail through customer case studies in a few minutes. In the MongoDB professional services team, we help drive these modernization initiatives by working with our customers to build an app modernization factory, providing advisory consulting, program governance, and deep technical expertise throughout the application development lifecycle, all cultivated from best practices we developed from working with the world's largest organizations. And this isn't just about tactical migrations of individual apps, but rather a complete portfolio analysis and putting in place a methodology to drive a large-scale modernization effort. This slide shows the high-level process flow. Drilling down into a little more detail, we work with our customers at all stages, starting with an initial high-level rapid assessment of apps in the portfolio. From that first pass assessment, we'll further characterize the applications that score highly to construct a high-level design and effort estimation for replatforming on MongoDB. The results of this assessment are reported back to the appropriate application owners for a go, no-go decision for replatforming on MongoDB. Then, for each selected application, we work with developers and operations teams to drive the deep dive redesign and support implementation, testing and deployment, and ongoing iterations in line with the application's roadmap. Looking some more at the initial portfolio assessment, the way we do this is by assessing each app in the portfolio on 2 axes. First, a set of criteria that determine the technical feasibility of the migration, and second, criteria that help us quantify the business need to migrate in areas such as reducing cost, reducing business risk due to downtime or performance limitations, or increasing agility in order to develop new features. Apps that score highly on both axes are those where migration would bring significant business benefit with minimal effort and complexity to migrate, and are thus prioritized for migration. So you may be considering several different options for modernization, such as lifting and shifting your existing relational database to the cloud, or moving from a commercial relational database to an open source relational database. but the better path to truly transform your business is a complete migration to a modern data platform. If you think about a relational lift and shift, there's actually much more to do than simply dumping your source data and loading it into a new environment. It includes things such as rewriting queries to accommodate different SQL dialects and feature support for each database, rewriting stored procedures, re-implementing mechanisms for high availability and scaling, and then full regression testing and performance tuning. In certain cases, this may still be faster than moving to MongoDB, but there's still a lot of work you have to do, and the gap in effort is a lot less than you think. The most important question to ask is, what do you get as an end result? With a lift and shift, you might see small gains in application performance or minor cost reductions, but you don't get the full transformation benefits that a modern data platform provides. Let's briefly step through them. 3 to 5 times increased developer productivity, high availability and automatic horizontal scalability right out of the box, the ability to store and extract value from more varied types of data, global data distribution, again, automatic and out of the box, and the ability to run everywhere from on-prem to cloud and avoid vendor and platform lock-in. When our customers choose MongoDB as their data platform for legacy modernization, they're investing in the best technology for their apps. MongoDB is the best database for modern applications for 3 main reasons. First, it gives developers the best way to work with data. MongoDB's document data model is the most natural way for developers to work with data, and coupled with rich query capabilities and our serverless platform, simplifies backend code, speeding the development of new applications. Our flexible data model lets you adapt your schema as your apps evolve, powering agile development and continuous delivery of new features. And you can process data any way your applications require, from simple queries to complex aggregations, analytics, faceted search, geospatial queries, and graph search. The second reason that MongoDB is the database of choice for modern applications is that it's distributed by design, which lets you intelligently put data where you need it. For example, built-in redundancy and self-healing ensure that your business applications are always on for any user at any time. MongoDB scales out your database to meet growing data volumes and user loads as you capture new market opportunities. You can run operational apps while also serving analytics, machine learning, and BI workloads to unlock insights in real time. And you can distribute your data globally so users everywhere get low latency access to the information they need when they need it. And the third reason is the freedom to run anywhere. MongoDB runs the same everywhere, on commodity hardware on-premise, on the mainframe, in the cloud, on mobile, or as an on-demand, fully managed database as a service, MongoDB Atlas. You can deploy a MongoDB cluster across the globe or use our Atlas service for coverage in more than 60 regions across all the major cloud providers. So legacy modernization addresses both updating your existing portfolio of apps as well as creating new ones. So let's talk about a few of them. Mobile first. Access data from all channels and devices to help your organization engage effectively with customers anywhere, anytime. MongoDB Realm extends the power of the MongoDB core platform to the edge with robust access controls and service integrations, and automatically synchronizes data between the device and your backend database. Analytics and AI. Data, quite simply, is the fuel for AI. You need a platform that can handle the volume, velocity, and variety of data that feeds AI applications, can handle workloads required for AI application development and model training, and can perform stream processing on data, both separately and combined with other data flows to deliver actionable, real-time analytic insights. MongoDB provides a flexible, scalable, and distributed data platform to help you quickly build these AI applications. And finally, let's talk about Internet of Things. You can quickly incorporate the IoT into your business model by capturing rich new sources of data in real time and at scale from large networks of devices, and combine it with other relevant data sources to gain important new insights. MongoDB helps your development team accelerate innovation and bring new IoT apps online faster. It provides the flexibility, agility, and the scalability to meet the data demands of IoT. So now I'll hand back to Jeff to walk through some customer case studies. Jeff?
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, so MongoDB now has more than 14,200 customers in more than 100 countries around the world and includes more than half of the Fortune 100. Many are working with us to help them on their digital journey. You can see the logos and learn more about how we're working with them on the customers page at mongodb.com. Now we're going to spotlight 3 of these today. First, we're going to talk about Travelers. Travelers modernized from relational database infrastructure to MongoDB to deliver a whole new class of apps. So by leveraging our flexible document model, they were able to provide a customer 360 application that consolidated 15 different screens. Call center agents used to have to navigate down to just 2, cutting the time the customers were on the phone by about 70%. And the team delivered the project in just 2 months versus the 9-month normal expected delivery time from the relational database. Their mainframe offloading project slashed app response time by 98%. They delivered the new Prospect project using a microservices architecture in 8 weeks, and they had a 75% increase in developer productivity at a quarter the cost of the relational database. They're also building out real-time analytics for personal insurance, combining operational and analytical data stores to reduce cost and open up opportunities to leverage AI and machine learning in the business. John just spoke about that a moment ago. And Travelers is looking to move apps to the cloud, and with MongoDB, it has a choice of all the major cloud providers instead of being locked into one. Now, quick thing, Travelers is a great example of the lift and shift question that sometimes comes up, and which John spoke about earlier. Whether you can go faster adopting new development processes while retaining the relational database. And you know, they tried that at Travelers. They modernized development processes, they moved to microservices, they supported it with agile DevOps methodologies, didn't update the existing platform, but the rigidity of the existing relational database infrastructure imposed blockers, and they couldn't move at the speed they needed to go. So the solution was MongoDB and its flexible data model. It eliminated the relational database issues, including things like a 3-day wait to make database changes, and it enabled Travelers to create a software development pipeline, supporting continuous delivery of new business functionality. And Travelers shared its experiences in a number of places, including the Diginomica articles shown here. Now, a Tier 1 global bank, can't tell you who it is, but it's a great story. They kicked off their legacy modernization project by offloading mainframe operations to an operational data layer, an ODL, powered by MongoDB, and exposed all of the data to new services they needed to build to meet the demands of digital banking. And our consultants helped the bank on its journey. Now, initially, they just offloaded reads coming from customers over digital channels to the mainframe. This helped reduce costs and ensure customers could still get to their account data even when the mainframe was down. Then they started to expand the service, bringing more data into the ODL and enriching it so customers could mine deeper transaction histories. Then it started to expose that data to completely new services, to advanced analytics, to give a more personalized experience, to provide notifications and alerts. So in this way, the ODL became not just a system of engagement, but also a system of innovation, and it supported apps that the bank's legacy systems just couldn't. So this delivered value across 3 crucial stakeholder groups. Company itself, to the business, by supporting customer retention and acquisition with innovative new services. You see their compliance with new regulatory demands, the GDPR, but also PSD2, and ongoing innovation. Shareholders are happy because with the bank adopting open source and commodity hardware, it's been able to reduce costs, and not just infrastructure costs, but also taking advantage of a distributed, resilient data platform that keeps them from going down and incurring fines. And the customers who have a whole new level of convenience, new services they can't get from other banks, and a vastly improved customer experience. And of course, that folds right back into the business with sharply higher levels of customer experience and things like Net Promoter Scores. The third customer we're going to talk about today is Cisco. Their back-end e-commerce system is a critical app, and more than $40 billion in revenue flows through it. That's critical. It handles a range of services from online configurators to export controls to booking orders. And it's a complete system of record for serving more than 280,000 users across B2B and B2C channels. Now, they were struggling to add new features. They wanted to push out new features monthly, but existing processes and systems made it difficult. Customer experience was poor, just one of a number of metrics. Page loads took 5 seconds, and its systems were down a lot. 4 days over the period of a year, and downtime cost them about 4.6 million an hour. So that alone was costing Cisco more than $441 million on an annualized basis. So they modernized their back-end e-commerce system from a legacy relational database to MongoDB, and the results have been pretty amazing. It gained the ability with our distributed systems to quickly scale out to meet the needs of the business. It improved site performance by a factor of 5x. With our resilient platform, it increased uptime by 100x. It was able to redirect the efforts of 12 developers who used to just be focused on writing SQL backend code, and now they're creating new applications to differentiate and add strategic value. And as you see there, the estimated $2 million in savings that's accruing to the business. So just to sum up quickly, MongoDB uniquely delivers legacy modernization and the business benefits that come with it in 3 ways. Our application modernization factory provides the people and processes to execute these projects. Our intelligent operational data platform provides the best data platform for modern applications. And we offer proven success helping companies modernize their data estates. And John spoke about all of that in some detail a bit earlier. And so now I'm going to bring in Sean and bring John back in to join me in answering your questions. So Sean, I think I'll turn over the questions to you and we'll go from there. And please, everyone, submit your questions in that chat queue.
Hey, everyone. This is Sean McCarthy. If you have any questions, please submit them in either the chat window or the Q&A section, and I'll do my best to answer what I can.
So what do we have there?
Right now, it's empty.
Well, you know what? I had one. I had one from somebody who was talking to us about some of this recently, and I'm going to run through that. The basic crux of it was that they had written down, they interested in what we identify as the 3 big demands from the business. And, innovation, make the company data-driven, and lower cost and risk. And they're all relevant, the customer said, but their biggest reason for trying to make a move right now would be scale. They've got to scale the network up and down manually, and not only is that costing more every time they have to go up, it diverts team resources to monitor workloads and to manage the process. And so one thing what basically I addressed that question was with this. This week, as part of our GA release of MongoDB version 4.2, we're announcing our auto scaling feature that I think addresses exactly what that customer is talking about now. Right now, it's in beta status, okay, up front. But so first of all, before I talk about that, let me back up and talk a little bit about what's already GA in MongoDB Atlas. Even before auto-scaling, Atlas lets you adjust the dimensions of your managed databases with a simple API call or a button click in the UI, and you can scale up or down with no impact to the application. Atlas automatically increases storage capacity when the disk utilization crosses a preset threshold. Okay, so existing features like that make scaling in response to workload changes a lot easier, but they do still require you to review performance metrics or respond to alerts when you decide to scale. So with auto scaling enabled, and by the way, it can be toggled on or off using the API or the UI, it tracks key resource utilization metrics in real time and adjusts database sizes up or down. By using predictive modeling and our proven best practices for managing tens of thousands of deployments. As with manual scaling events, these are also executed in a rolling fashion across the Atlas deployment, so there's no impact to your apps. And again, auto scaling is currently in beta, and we're expecting it to go GA in the near future. So what else do we have?
So we have one question. For the Tier 1 bank solution, you mentioned data was fed to a tool to assist with AI. What tool were you referring to, or was it handled directly with MongoDB? I'm not able to answer this question. John, would you be able to?
I can answer part of it. So the customer in question was able to they used a separate tool. It was not natively MongoDB. what they used MongoDB for was to enrich the customer transaction data with a whole bunch of tags around that categorize that data, and based on that, they were able to run some algorithms on top of that to make smart recommendations for cross-selling and upselling to their customer based on their customer's behavior.
Okay.
So the flexibility of the model was allowed us to easily tag the data with the AI tool that they were using.
Right. It basically allowed quite a significant enrichment of that data to do that analysis to get those insights out.
Yeah, very cool.
Hmm.
I hope that was able to answer your question. If not, please give a follow-up, and we'll see what we can answer. Give a better answer. So we have another question. Web performance latency in data access. Can you give some benchmarks? I assume this is all about response times of how fast the data will come back to, from a web request. Short answer is sometimes it depends, but typically I've worked with clients where we were able to get millisecond response times. We were able to, and it all depends on the model and the access patterns that we're using, but the read performance on MongoDB can be extremely quick.
Mm-hmm.
Next question, does MongoDB still use sharding? The short answer is yes. This is the way that we would scale horizontally across systems. If you were to use Atlas, which is our MongoDB as a service, it makes it seamless. You can easily shard your cluster based off of fields within your database, or using our global clusters, you can use locality fields in the data itself to partition your data across the globe to achieve low latency reads and writes across the globe. Another question we have from the chat, is MongoDB ACID compliant now for transaction processing systems? As of 4.2, in 4.0, we introduced ACID compliant transactions at the replica set level, and with the 4.2 release that went live that is live yesterday. Sorry.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. We just went live yesterday. Yes.
we have the distributed. We have transactions across a distributed sharded environment. So short answer is yes, and we have the ability to do. We've always been atomic at the document level, but now we can actually do multi-document transactions across a sharded cluster.
Yep. A lot of other exciting stuff rolling out with the 4.2 release. And as I say, that's just happening, as Sean mentioned.
Another question we have is, can you give an example of when not to use MongoDB as a solution? So I'm going to first give my answer that I've come across, and then I will let the rest of the panelists speak. So typically, especially with the idea of the short distributed transactions, things like that, my typical approach has always been when the price of when a legacy application just isn't worth the price of the retrofitting, and it's better to actually just rebuild from new. So I typically will not use it for legacy code that it's just not worth the amount of time to actually rebuild it, but actually phase it out.
Right.
Those are the times where I've, made recommendations not to use Mongo. Did anybody have any input there?
Well, yeah, Sean and Sean and John both. We actually created a document internally at MongoDB that talked about, it was a use case guidance document, and it actually talked in some depth about that. And we have shared that with a number of either prospects or customers, and they thought it was kind of refreshing that we would actually, be open about that and say, yeah, well, there are a few situations, and let's talk about them. And we did talk about them in some detail. So, and we can provide that document on a case by case basis as we go. But yeah, we did walk through. I wouldn't want to walk through all of them right now, but that's certainly available and documented. Yep.
Okay, great. Another question: does MongoDB support joins across documents? So we have within our aggregation framework, we support the ability to do what we call a lookup, which allows us to enrich data that's within the MongoDB aggregation pipeline with documents from another collection. So yes, we call it a lookup rather than joins because joins are more of a relational term, but short answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have introduced another operator called a graph lookup, which allows us to do some basic graph tree building of documents. So how are documents related to each other and build hierarchical structures of that graph.
Yep.
This document, can I access it to assist my clients on the sales? We'll make sure to have, Jeff, would you be able to make it available?
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing in here that we wouldn't be able to present and share. So, and we'll just double check that, but we will get them a version of this, probably identical. Yep. Yep, glad to help.
Great.
How we doing? Anything else in the queue of interest, or?
Let me just double check. That's all the questions in both the QA and the chat.
Sure. And we don't want to extend this too much longer, but if you have more questions, and then obviously we'd like to follow up with you if you have questions. So let me just do this. I'll just jump in here and thank everybody for joining us today. Wait a minute. There you go.
We'll send out the document. We made a note, and we'll make sure that you have information.
Right.
It was just how do I get access to the document, and we'll make sure to have it sent out.
That sounds great. Yes. And if there are follow-up questions or you think of something after you disconnect and whatever, and then you obviously come back to us anytime. We're here to help. Also, so thanks for joining us. There's also, Melissa asked me to make sure to mention there's going to be a poll here at the end, and we'd really appreciate your feedback. We will be in touch with the on-demand link, as I mentioned, where you registered for this. That same link will forward people to the on-demand link, so we've got you covered. And we'll also answer any follow-ups. And look for us at mongodb.com and all over the web. So unless there's anything else, thank you very much. Sean, please.
There was one more question.
Yes.
Can you provide email addresses and contact info
for those of us on the call? Well, sure. Yeah. Okay. Maybe Melissa might want to incorporate. We'll work with her and incorporate some of that in the follow-ups that go out.
Okay, great.
That's great. Anything else? Please, the chat's still open. We're not trying to run off too soon, but we just want to be conscious of everybody's time. Okay, well, I guess that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll be talking again real soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep.